because then we can maintain our body weight while eating more food. I don't know about you, but I like eating more food. If I can lose weight while eating more food, that is a good thing. If I can maintain a body that I love and a body fat percentage that's healthy and I'm happy with and I'm confident in, and I can do that while eating more food, that is a sweet deal. We're back, and I'm going to tell you some important things about why you need to move more. I know you hear this all the time. It's like, oh, I got to work out more. I gotta go to the gym more. Gotta walk more. Gotta run more. Gotta whatever. Really, what I'm going to specifically tell you to do here is you're going to want to walk more specifically. Now, I guess I'm going to use walking here in the context of what I'm talking about, specifically walking, and I'm going to get into the reasons actually for that. But you could definitely make that a placeholder for something else. So if you love the elliptical, or if you love hiking or rucking, or you like swimming or kayaking or whatever it is, or you are a runner, that could be in place here as well. But I work with a lot of people in my coaching business that don't actually love to do those things, at least on a regular basis. And they don't even necessarily have the resources or time or effort to do that, at least where they're currently at. So walking ends up being one of the best options for this as a low-hanging fruit in regards to movement. So, and this is going to be mostly from the context of weight loss, but I'll get into also maybe like a weight maintenance perspective as well. So right now we already know that you're not moving enough. Likely. Most people are not moving enough, myself included. This has been a big focus for me is recently, like right now, I'm in the middle of making that one of my priorities and commitments is pushing my steps up, pushing my average daily step count higher and higher. So, and the reason why I'm doing this is for some of the stuff I'm going to get into here. But before I get there, I want to talk about like why this actually matters within the context of weight loss. So you want to lose weight. You want to lose 10 pounds. You want to lose 20 pounds. You want to lose 50 pounds. Doesn't matter. You want to lose weight to some extent. Now, we have two ways of doing that effectively. There's many different strategies and methods to lose weight, sure. But there's all of those strategies come from actually two different kind of umbrella channels. Those two channels are options that we have, okay? Number one is food restriction, specifically caloric restriction. So eating less calories. That might not mean less food. I've talked about that before in previous episodes. Difference between like food and calories, you know? Like we say, okay, if you want to lose weight, you're going to have to eat less food. And that's true-ish, but technically it's not as true as what you really need to do, which is you need to eat less calories. And what I'm kind of implying there is the difference between food and calories and how some food is more calorie dense than other foods. And some foods are far less calorie dense than other foods. So good example, just to go quickly over it would be, you know, if I eat 2 handfuls of carrots, not a ton of food, but like I could fill up a bunch of my stomach with all those carrots. That's a bunch of carrots, you know? But that's not a lot of calories. Now, if I have, you know, a handful of potato chips, that's probably going to be 4 or 5 times the calories, but way less actual food. So that's kind of why specifically with option one, we need to eat less food probably, but more specifically, we need to eat less calories. So that's option one. Option two is we need to increase our movement, which is that is going to be increasing our energy output. Energy comes from those calories. So what's important to understand here is going to be what these two kind of channels, these two options are actually, what they're actually doing, what they're affecting. So when we want to lose weight, right? Here's how it breaks down very simply. When we want to lose weight, there's a certain amount of calories that is required to maintain our current body weight, day to day, week to week. Okay. If we overconsume those calories a little bit higher, we are going to gain weight to some extent at some rate. If we eat the same amount of calories as it takes to maintain our body weight, we will maintain our body weight over a certain period of time. And if we undereat our calories relative to how many calories it takes to maintain our body weight, we will lose weight to some extent for a certain period of time. Now, this is why we have two options. We can, this is the required calories it takes to maintain our current body weight. And then this is our calories that we are consuming. So what we could do is we could just increase, right? We could go on this side of the equation and we could increase the amount of calories required to maintain our current body weight. Now, if I do that, this discrepancy between the calories that are coming in and the calories that go out day to day, that would mean that we now have a situation where we could lose weight, right? So I didn't even change how many calories I'm eating. I just increased how many calories I'm expending, right? So in most cases, what we want to do is we want to leverage both, usually to some extent. So usually what we want to do, somebody's here, they're not losing weight. I'm in a plateau. I can't lose weight, or they're even gaining weight, but whatever. But they're probably somewhere around here. It's like, I need to lose weight. Cool. The strategies that I would use with clients, or anyone would use with clients that actually is going to work, is going to ideally decrease their calories and probably increase their movement. So at least in my case, I can speak to my case. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do both things for clients. So I'm going to try and get them on a game plan that actually helps them decrease the amount of calories they consume. And then I'm going to increase the amount of calories that they expend day to day. And that discrepancy that we create will actually create the environment that we need to lose weight reliably and consistently every single week. Now, those are the two options, right? Caloric restriction or caloric increase. This is basically an argument for caloric increase, specifically through the method of just walking more. So I'm going to go actually briefly here through some kind of just quick pros and cons. There's a lot more here to unpack, but I'm just going to kind of go over just the obvious ones. So option one, which is caloric restriction, okay? The pro to option one would be if you can maintain the caloric restriction game plan that you're on, it will work, right? So an example of this would be like you start a diet plan where you don't even pay attention to workouts, walking, movement. You don't really pay attention much to it. You don't have a specific target that you're trying to hit for any of those things. Where you're hyper-focused is eating less. I am eating less food to lose weight. Now, if you can maintain that, it'll work. That is a pro, for sure. Where that breaks down is the cons. This is at least the big con with it is hard to maintain that because you're going to constantly have to remove food less and less and less. And in our food environment where delicious, tasty, calorie-dense, highly palatable, sweet and salty treats are around us all the time, that's going to be unlikely in reality. So the unpredictability of life on top of this food environment that I just described basically means that, relying on just decreasing your calories over time is probably not a good long-term play. So otherwise, you're going to have to rely on willpower forever, which does not work. And a lot of people still think they just need more willpower. That is not what you need. You just need a better plan that actually requires less willpower. Because if you're just relying on willpower, all of us included, there's things throughout our life, throughout our day, throughout our week that will sap willpower from us. And then at some point, you have none left. So then a lot of the times that comes down to a food situation where you're like, oh my goodness, I made multiple decisions this week that did not set me up for success because I just didn't have any willpower left. And it doesn't mean you need more willpower. It means you need a different plan. So let's go to option two. So option two is increased caloric expenditure. So increasing movement, specifically through the mode of walking in this case. So option two, pro. So the pro for this would be this is how I describe it. It increases margin or it increases room for extra food that isn't always planned, because that is going to happen for the reasons that I said before, right? Unpredictability of life, especially if you're a busy parent, which is a lot of the folks that I work with. Unpredictability of life, you're going to be very, very busy, stressed out and tired. And then the food environment that is just not ideal for weight loss or eating healthy. So you combine all three of those together. And if we can increase margin for those things that are bound to happen to some extent. In reality, you're not going to be perfect. Then we're more likely to succeed because we've now taken those into consideration. Well, the other pro would be if you're looking to so just taking a break from weight loss for a second. If you're looking to maintain your current body weight, say you wanted to lose 30 pounds and you're like, I got to my goal weight. Cool. Now I want to hang out here. It is way easier to maintain your current body weight if we go back to this equation, your caloric expenditure is high than if it's low. And then you just have to keep your food low enough, because if it goes a little bit over, you'll gain weight again, which is where most people end up being after a diet. So if you can get your metabolic rate higher and your caloric expenditure higher day to day consistently, it's going to be a lot easier to maintain your body weight, because you're going to have a handful of chips. You're going to have a little bit too much cheesecake after dinner. You're probably going to have the appetizers and the desserts at restaurant every now and then when you're like, you know what? Shouldn't have ordered the fries, should have got the salad, whatever. You're going to have a few extra drinks. These are going to happen to some extent, especially when you're off the diet and you're looking to maintain your current body weight. So keeping our metabolic rate high, keeping our calorie expenditure and our caloric output high, consistently high, is really going to help create room for those situations and those scenarios. The other pro, specifically as it comes to walking, and I guess movement in general, but it does depend on the movement for sure. But walking specifically is low skill and it's low effort for most people, right? That's not everybody, but for the vast majority of people that are able-bodied, walking is low skill and it's low effort, right? And we're already going to have to do it anyway on our day-to-day to run errands, bring kids to soccer or hockey practice, go to work, walk, park in wherever you're parking to go to a certain store, whatever it is. Like, you have to walk to go do stuff. So it's already going to be within your day-to-day. And then if we can tack on some extra deliberate walking on top of it, it doesn't take that much extra effort. Although it takes some, it doesn't take a lot, particularly if you compare it to maybe a workout, which can be a lot more intimidating for people or take a lot more emotional bandwidth. Walking doesn't. Walking, and then also, as I already mentioned, is low skill. So it doesn't take a lot of thought or physical, technical ability to do that. So you put all those together, those are all the pros. Now, the cons of option 2, again, I'm arguing for option 2 here. The cons, truthfully, are that it does take extra time and it takes some effort. So if I'm being honest, those are probably the biggest cons. Are they worth both those cons? I believe so, a million times over, but those are the drawbacks. What I wanted to do actually as well, as I'm kind of making this case, is shout out my friend Dean Guido, online coach, fellow Canadian, strong feller, maybe not as strong anymore, jiu-jitsu world champion. He makes a very strong case quite regularly on his social media for why you should be increasing your caloric output, your caloric expenditure, your metabolic rate through consistent and regular walking. And for all the reasons that I previously mentioned, among many more. So one thing that he said here that kind of ties everything together that I've said so far is, he said, my goal, this is on one of his social media posts, my goal is that people can increase flux, which is one of these terms that I guess I should define that. Flux is basically this term for energy turnover. So it's how much, when we consider the fact that we consume calories, which is a form of energy that keeps our body operating, and then we expend energy to keep our body alive. It's like burning fuel, right? So the amount of energy turnover that we have, if we're moving more and we're eating more, that's higher flux, that's higher energy turnover. So he says, my goal is that people can increase flux/output enough to create a caloric deficit in where they naturally fall into hunger/calorie-wise based on where they naturally fall into hunger calorie-wise based on their current lifestyle and environment. We solve that issue first, and every single food intervention gets exponentially better over time. Start with food restriction first, and in my opinion, you are likely to fall off the map the second you can't psychologically hold on any longer, which varies, but everyone hits that wall, especially if you have tons of obligations and adult problems. Kids, anyone? And he's a parent, he's got a kid. So he gets it, right? Like, the reality of life is it's unpredictable, chaotic, and there's going to be situations where you have total control, you have no control, and then there's going to be a lot of space in between along that spectrum. And there's going to be certain times where if you are relying on willpower, you will fail, even though you are in control. So we want to understand that and just consider the reality of life. And in this case, if you're going to, like what Dean said here, it's like if you're just going to rely on caloric restriction over time, are you really just going to stay on a diet for the rest of your life once you've got to your weight loss goal? That most people haven't thought about that. And that's a conversation I have with all my clients when they start the weight loss goal is like, we want to set you up on a game plan right now that builds the lifestyle changes and the foundation required to get your metabolic rate higher, to increase your caloric expenditure, increase your caloric output, and increase what he called energy flux and energy turnover. This allows us to not be perfect with our diet, be generally overall healthy and make good decisions for ourselves, but understand that like, yeah, I'm probably going to have a granola bar at 3 p.m. when that wasn't really on my plan, or I'm going to have chocolate before dinner when normally, oh yeah, that wasn't on my plan before. And I'm now anxious about this because, oh no, what if I get fat? Like this is a normal thing for someone to experience after the diet, but we can make room for that. We can make margin for that a lot easier if we keep our flux and our caloric expenditure higher, especially not just during the weight loss phase, because then we can lose weight while eating more food, but also when we're maintaining our body weight after the diet, because then we can maintain our body weight while eating more food. I don't know about you, but I like eating more food. If I can lose weight while eating more food, that is a good thing. If I can maintain a body that I love and a body fat percentage that's healthy and I'm happy with and I'm confident in, and I can do that while eating more food, that is a sweet deal. Walking helps us do that. I want to give you some recommendations. So a lot of people, I think, and you may be in this situation where you're not really sure where to start. It's like, okay, I need to walk more, but what does that look like? Walking more is not a goal. Walking more is not a plan. We need to actually have tangible and quantifiable and measurable targets of like, here's exactly what you need to do, because you need to have clarity around this. Otherwise, you won't do it. It makes sense. If you're not clear on it, you're not going to do it because you don't really actually know what to do. So as far as recommendations to move more, I actually made one here. I made this post actually a little while back. So this is my suggestion. First of all, I would recommend everyone get a step tracker of some kind. So Fitbit, Apple Watch, or any other pedometer that you can wear on your ankle or wrist. You don't have to do this. So you could use a time-based target. Otherwise, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. I need this many minutes of walking total. That's fine. But steps or a step tracker, a pedometer of some kind is really, really helpful, because then it's tracking it even when it's not conscious. So a good example is like a lot of the moms that I work with in my coaching program, if they are, various things they have to do at work, just a little bit of steps here and there and whatnot, they wouldn't really think about like, oh, I'm walking right now. But all of that does count. Or some of my moms that stay at home and look after their kids, they're going to be doing some tidying of the house or house chores or whatever it may be, or running errands or whatever. And you wouldn't necessarily think of like that supporting your fitness, but it does. And all of that counts. So you do enough of that over a day, you look down at your watch and your step counter and you're like, whoa, okay, I've been busy, doing life obligations, life stuff I got to do, running the kids around after work, whatever you're thinking. And then you look down at your watch and you're like, I've got a lot more steps than I thought. Okay, this is good. Cool. Or maybe you don't. And then you look at it. Now you know, oh, cool. Okay, to hit the target that I want, I'm going to have to go for probably around a 20, 25-minute walk when I get home before or after dinner, before I end the day, to make sure I hit my targets. So that being said, get a pedometer. If you don't have one, go get one. Fitbits are super cheap. Apple Watch is probably more expensive, but you can get really cheap pedometers that are neither, just over on Amazon. So here's what I would say is, first step here, this is kind of a 4-step process to start with. So first of all, check your current daily average steps over the last month or two. If you don't have a step tracker, get it, wear it for the first week, watch to see what your average step count is. And then based off that, you can follow these next few steps. If you already have your step tracker, you can do step 1, check your current daily average steps over the last month or two. Check what that number is. Now, step number 2, if it's 5,000 or under, I want you to double it. Okay. Step 3, if your step average over the last month or two is 6K or over, I want you to add 2 or 3K. You can do more, that's fine. But I would suggest 2 to 3K, hang out there, and you can always work up over time. Step 4, be consistent every day. So set this step target and then be consistent with it and hit it no matter what. That's going to be important. Now, if you don't know where to get extra steps in, these are some ways that my clients do it. These are some ways that I do it as well. So There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like 10 or so here. So these are all strategies, and there's many more. First one, wake up 30 minutes earlier. Second one, walk before dinner. Third one, walk after dinner. Walk 10 minutes after every meal. Walk 5 to 10 minutes throughout the day at work. That's a good one because a lot of people struggle with the all or nothing type thinking where it's like, okay, I didn't have time for a 60-minute walk, so I just haven't walked all day. It's like, well, you probably had 5 to 10 minute gaps. You could have just walked, 100 meters that way, 100 meters back. A bunch of those throughout the day will all add up. So take what you can get, especially on unpredictable, very busy days. Next one, buy a walking pad on Amazon. So they're typically a couple $100, $100 to $300. You can buy a cheap one that totally works fine. They're pretty small, which is great. So you can like just roll it up underneath the couch or even put it behind the couch, in between the couch and the wall. They're really, really good. A lot of people are very interested in like these walking desks now. So you just put the walking pad underneath a standing desk. That's an option as well. I don't do that. My wife, Sam, likes to do that. She's got her own kind of makeshift little thing that she's put on our treadmill. But really what you just having a walking pad is massive. Like the treadmill that we have in our apartment has been a game changer in regards to like for kind of two scenarios. When it gets colder like it is now, we abuse that thing over the winter. So I'm still getting my steps in, if not more than when I would in the summer. And typically colder weather definitely deters people from walking. And this can be a big challenge for a lot of my clients going into the colder weather right now who don't have access to a walking pad or they aren't going to a gym regularly. So that's going to be huge. Second one is just busy days, right? So it's like, oh man, I can't get to the gym or I can't go out for a walk. It's like, okay, literally the walking pad's right there. I'm just going to bang out a 15-minute walk and at least that'll get me into the groove that I need for now. I'll do what I can here. Next one, park farther away from the entrance of a store if you're running errands. Walk every aisle when you're getting groceries, if you have the time available for it. Walk everywhere that's close instead of drive. If you have the option to walk and you can walk it, just don't drive, just opt to walk. If it's cold out, bundle up and do it. Walk 10 to 20 minutes before winding down at night. So these are all just like little routines that you could kind of place into your lifestyle that you just start to do regularly. A lot of my clients have these. A lot of my clients are currently figuring out what theirs are. And I would recommend you do the exact same thing. But the best thing about walking, for a lot of the reasons that I mentioned before, is it's super low-hanging fruit. It's available to everyone who's able-bodied. It's very effective at increasing our metabolic rate and keeping high energy flux so that we can lose weight or maintain our weight while eating more food, which is awesome. And it's low impact, low skill, helps digestion, improves cognition, and you can do it damn near everywhere. So it's available to you wherever you end up going. So that is a huge factor, I think. And I think most people enjoy food some more than others, right? Like I definitely enjoy food as well. And when I think about it, I'm like, if I can achieve my fitness goals and maintain a body fat percentage that I'm happy with, and I can do that while eating more food, this is a pretty good deal. So this is one of the lowest hanging fruit that we can have. If you enjoy other forms of movement more than walking, you should make time to do those as well. But walking should probably be in place to some extent for everybody who is able to do that. Hope this helped you. Hope you're able to grab some value from this and implement it into your own life and your own fitness journey. If you have any questions on this, feel free to DM me on Instagram at I am Tim Walcott. Leave a comment below if you have any questions down there as well, and I'll get to you there. Make sure you're subscribed to the show and stay tuned for next week. Thanks for listening.